Is it possible that they've made a worse Spider-Man film than Homecoming? Because I hated Homecoming. I think they have.
Hi, I'm JXE, and I'm here today to talk about Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Mainly because I loved it. Now, we've had a lot of Spider-Man adaptations in the past, and this is a movie that seems fully aware of that. A movie that is fully self-aware of the fact that when a property gets popular enough, it gets rebooted and retold again and again and again. This was the fourth big-screen adaptation of Spider-Man I had seen, and right off the bat we were getting jokes about the fact we've heard the story of these characters a million times before. Not only is this movie not hindered by the fact that it's a reboot, it uses that fact completely to its advantage. So usually when a movie comes out and I like it as much as I like this movie, I like to look at some of the negative reviews to see if I consider any of them to be unreasonable. Now, that's not to say that just because I really enjoyed the film personally, that there aren't totally valid criticisms of it. In fact, I even thought there were quite a few plot contrivances in this movie, and I would completely understand if things like Spider-Ham are a bit too silly for some people. Not every movie is to everyone's taste, and that's fine. At first I was drawn to this video by Screen Rant, where apparently they just don't know what the word hidden means. 10 hidden details in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse that only true fans noticed. Yes, I am a true Spider-Man fan, so only I noticed that in this film they recreated one of the most iconic scenes from one of the most popular superhero movies of all time. What a great hidden detail. Thank you, Screen Rant, for pointing this out to me, otherwise I may have never noticed the focal point of that scene. I guess 10 completely obvious details that a lot of people will have noticed isn't as catchy of a title. Oh, also, Watch Mojo seemed to have released a video with an almost identical title and thumbnail, but at least they didn't claim that this shit was hidden. Screen Rant, you've just been one-upped by Watch Mojo. How do you feel? Eventually, my crusade led me to this channel. A channel called SC Reviews, which is run by this guy. Now, I don't know this guy's name, so I'm just gonna call him Dingle Bloopy Noop. I didn't try very hard to find out his name, I just wanted to call him Dingle Bloopy Noop. Now, Dingle Bloopy Noop has a lot of videos on his channel, but the one that caught my attention specifically was this one, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse RANT. But before we dive straight into that, let's see what other kinds of videos he makes. Doctor Who ratings plunge. Doctor Who is losing real fans and gaining SJWs. Doctor Who ratings soar for female millennials. Doctor Who catastrophic audience rating on Rotten Tomatoes. Doctor Who Season 11, the worst rated series. Disaster for New Year's special. Audience ratings plummet before New Year's special. Doctor Who chin ball backtracks plus Rotten Tomatoes fail. NPCs write about Doctor Who. This one's also about the ratings, but that wasn't in the title. Doctor Who Rotten Tomatoes disaster. Has Doctor Who become The Last Jedi? Fan backlash? Doctor Who plummets on Rotten Tomatoes. That's all of them, I promise. I haven't even just kept one for after this as a joke. That's actually all of them. Doctor Who ratings in freefall? Okay, that's actually all of them. That was 13 for anyone who wasn't counting in like just over a month. That's a lot of videos for one very specific topic in a very short space of time. Apparently the new series of Doctor Who isn't being terrifically well received by the audience is so vitally important that you need to hear about it an average of once every 2.7 days. Please pay no attention to the fact that I've made over 100 videos about CinemaSins. You know what, this is unfair to judge him just because he's made a lot of videos on the same topic. Maybe they're really, really good. I haven't watched any of them. Let's actually just look at one quickly to see the kind of thing he says.
The actress who uses her native Yorkshire accent in the role says that her casting is in line with the tradition of Doctor Who being different from more conventional dramas. Says that her casting is in line with the tradition of Doctor Who being different from more conventional dramas. Do you agree with that, Whovians out there? That her casting is in line with the tradition of Doctor Who?
Oh, I wonder where he's going with this.
I mean, considering that all the previous Doctors have been men, I wouldn't say it's in line. I would say it's out of line.
Oh boy, what a surprise! He took it there. This is what we call a straw man, and it's one of the most obvious straw mans I've ever seen. Because he literally reads out the whole sentence and then has to disregard half of the sentence to make his argument work. If the article you were reading said, this is in line with the tradition of Doctor Who casting men as the Doctor, or even just, this is in line with the casting traditions of Doctor Who, then what you were saying would be fine. But it doesn't say that. It says, this is in line with the tradition of Doctor Who being unconventional. Which I would disagree with personally. I don't find Jodie's casting to be particularly unconventional when compared with other modern dramas. But you know, maybe you should give it a try responding to the point they're actually making, instead of just making something up to disagree with. But his extensive range of videos about Doctor Who's declining ratings aren't exactly why you're here. So let's take a look at his Spider-Verse video. Sorry. I was just laughing at your intro. Slightly cringy intro aside, let's take a look at what he actually has to say. He starts by reading out a plot summary of the film.
Bitten by a radioactive spider, teenager Miles Morales suddenly develops mysterious powers that transform him into Spider-Man.
And he then moves on to just giving us a list of the cast.
Some of the cast is... you got Shamik Moore, Jake Johnson, Haley Steinfeld. They're the main sort of characters. You got Liev Schreiber, Mahershala Ali, Brian Tyree Henry, Nicolas Cage.
He doesn't ever bring up any of this information again. He then, after what is, to be fair, not a huge amount of pointless preamble, I mean, it's certainly less pointless preamble than I've got on this video, what are we, like 6 minutes in at this point? Moves on to talking about his actual points. The main point that he has to make, the one that takes up the majority of his video, is quite a strange one.
So, what did I think about this film? It's got 100% of Rotten Tomatoes. Do I agree with that rating of 100%? No, I don't. This is probably one of the worst cinema experiences I've ever had in my entire life. I noticed that my eyes were hurting and that when the characters were moving, they were blurred. It's almost like you can see the frames as they're moving. When they're still, it's fine. But whenever you have a character moving in this form of animation they've gone with, it's blurry and it killed the fuck out of my eyes.
So what he seems to be referring to is the low frame rate animation style of the characters in this film. It's not blurry. This is what blurry is. Or, well, no, what Dingle Bloopy Noop is referring to would be motion blur, which looks like this. Blur is when adjacent colours fade into each other. Now, Spider-Verse does have scenes with blur effects in it, like this one, but they are few and far between. The only thing that's present whenever characters are moving is the 12 frames per second character animation. It's not blur though.
I was thinking, there must be something wrong here. I was looking around, are people wearing 3D glasses? No, can't see that. Did they make a mistake, put the wrong film in there or something? But I seem to be the only one having an issue with this film. My eyes were hurting a lot. My eyes are still hurting. This is like half an hour after I've seen the film. My eyes are still goddamn hurting from this stupid animation they've used here. I don't know what's going on, but I haven't heard anyone else mention this. I was thinking to myself, is it possible that they've made a worse Spider-Man film than Homecoming? This is what was going on in my head, because I hated Homecoming. I was thinking, I think they have. I think they've done it. They've hurt me. This time, they've hurt me.
So there we have it. He's saying that the film is bad because it made his eyes hurt. Or at least that's the way he phrased it in the video. He's not saying, I didn't enjoy it because. He says the animation style is stupid because. He spends about half of his rant, which, by the way, was originally intended as a review, on this point. In the comments, however, he goes back on that, saying that this was just his personal experience, and I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt on that. He even says that his discomfort may have impacted his perception of the film. It seems like this is only a response to criticism he received on the video, but it's a very positive response. So, credit where credit is due. Of course, you personally aren't going to enjoy a movie if it hurts your eyes, and I wouldn't ask you to, that would be ridiculous. Unfortunately, parts about it only being a personal experience don't really reflect what's actually said in the video. Dingle Bloopy Noop does seem to be very much blaming the film for this.
My eyes are still goddamn hurting from this stupid animation they've used here. The thing is that the art style, when it's still, is good because it looks like a page out of a glossy, modern Marvel comic. That's what it looks like. But as soon as it starts moving, shit, hold on to your asses.
But this isn't even something I want to dwell on particularly. It's not the part of the argument that I find the most strange. The thing that's really strange to me about this is the fact that Dingle Bloopy Noop, when he was making the video, didn't seem to even consider that this might be a problem unique to him. Or at least a problem unique to a very select few people. He goes straight to blaming the film for this without considering that there may be a problem with his eyes.
Why did they go with this weird the fuck animation? I don't know what the fuck is happening here. What was that about? It is weird. And no one else in their reviews have called that out. I'm surprised no one else made a big deal about it in the cinema.
I don't understand how you can say something like that and then not immediately think, maybe it's just me. And I'm not trying to discount his feelings or anything. I totally believe that this movie did make his eyes hurt. It's just, this is kind of like if I ate a peanut and then found out I had a peanut allergy and then blamed the peanut. Hey, chef, did you make this? Yeah. Are you trying to poison me? And then you go around and look at a load of reviews of peanuts and wonder why when other people review peanuts, they don't mention the fact that they make you really ill. I really don't like French toast, or any kind of fried bread. It disagrees with me. Even the smell of it makes me feel nauseous. In fact, even looking at that clip of it from V for Vendetta made me feel a little bit funny in the head. But since I know that loads of people really like French toast, and I don't think I've ever heard anyone else mention how French toast makes them nauseous, I assume that this is just a me thing. Because that's the logical assumption to make. So I could stop talking about this point right here. He made some silly assumptions, end of story. But from watching his video, it's very clear he didn't do any research. Like, he just seems to assume that this isn't just a him problem, and then also wonders why no one else is talking about it. So I've gone ahead and done that research for him. And hey, the fact that he's done no research doesn't mean that he's wrong, it just means he's kind of talking out of his ass. So maybe this research will even come up in his favour. The first thing I did was Google things like Spider-Verse eye pain, Spider-Verse migraines, Spider-Verse headache, Spider-Verse eye hurt, Spider-Verse hard to watch, you know, those kinds of things. I stuck at this for quite a while and didn't find anything relating to eye pain. I also went through YouTube with the same search terms and also found nothing. It strikes me that if this were a common issue, at least someone would have written about it somewhere. This evidence, or rather lack of evidence, strongly suggested to me that this issue was unique to Dingle Floopy, but I decided that that wasn't thorough enough and took it to Twitter. First, I simply asked my vast array of followers, which by the way includes HBomberGuy, if they experienced eye pain while watching this film. Now, of course, asking a question in this way will cause biases. For example, saying something like this may prompt someone to go, you know what? Now I think about it, it was a little hard on the eyes. When, without being prompted, they wouldn't have considered such a thing and it really didn't detract from their enjoyment of the film. It may prompt people to try and give an answer that they think I want. Which could be people thinking that I'm looking for someone to agree with me that it's painful, or someone to agree with me that it's not painful. Basically what I'm saying is that I'm fully aware that this data will be influenced by biases, but I have no idea what those biases are, so I couldn't tell you how they influence the data. In short, this data, even the poll that I did, is anecdotal at best. I would consider this evidence to be less valuable than the Google session, but I'm just going to present it all to you anyway so you can draw your own conclusions. Let's start with the poll. I asked people what they thought of the art style and prompted them with the fact that apparently it gave some people eye pain. In retrospect, I'm concerned that some people might have seen the eye-hurting option and just considered that the worst possible option and clicked it because they hated the art style, and I feel kinda silly for doing that. That said though, 4% of people clicked that option, which is definitely in Dingle Floopy Noop's favour. It doesn't mean that all these people experienced the problem to the same extent he did, considering he said he actively had to look away from the screen for huge portions of the movie, but if it hurt that many people's eyes even just a little bit, that's definitely a problem with the film. Although Twitter polls, especially my Twitter polls, can't really be upheld for their accuracy. Now let's qualify that 4% with what some people actually said about it. The art style was nothing short of fantastic. Love it, but that's not what I'm looking for. If anyone says anything but great, we're gonna have some problems. I like my followers. On the comments on the poll, I only received one from someone who said their eyes actually hurt, and they phrased their pain as maybe just a little. And on top of that, give the reason that they forgot their glasses. When it comes to the question I asked, I got 23 responses. Of the responses from people who had actually seen the film, one of those people seemed to say it caused them direct pain, but that pain went away after the first 5 minutes. They also qualified it with kinda. There was a second person who said they were put off by the low frames per second, but didn't say it caused them pain, and also said it went away in the first 5 minutes. And a third person who said they found it disorienting, but again, not referencing actual eye pain. Finally, of the people saying it caused them direct discomfort, we've got someone saying it gave them a headache, which again isn't eye pain, but does still kinda suck. Beyond that, we had a couple of people saying that they hadn't seen the movie because they were worried from the trailers that the animation style wouldn't agree with them, and a couple of people referencing other people that they thought had experienced eye pain. That's all the information I considered to be relevant, but if you want to see the full Twitter posts, I'll link them in the description. You've now seen all of the research I did, and some of it came up with stuff that seemed a little bit conflicting, so you can reach your own conclusions based on that. But here is what I concluded based on what I found. The fact that Dingle Floopy Noop experienced eye pain isn't something that's unique to him by any means. If the movie tried to be a little easier on the eyes, it would probably be an improvement. Apparently the 12 frame per second animation was actually to reduce costs. I initially thought it was a stylistic choice because I thought it looked really cool. But if anyone has complaints, even the most minor of complaints, that seems to be what their complaints are about. So maybe Spider-Verse should have just forked out that extra cash. On the other hand, despite the fact that Dingle Floopy Noop isn't unique in the fact that the movie caused him discomfort to watch, his pain does seem to go far beyond that of what anyone else experienced. Either that or he's just like really hamming it up. I'm not saying he is doing that, it's a possibility I feel we shouldn't overlook. Okay, now we're finally done covering the eye pain thing. Let's move on to some more of his points. He doesn't make many, and they're not very good. That's not to say they're bad, they're fine. They're just completely subjective statements with no argumentation made to back them up. There's nothing really wrong with that, it just doesn't really contribute anything to any kind of meaningful discussion.
I don't like Miles Morales as a character. It just reaffirmed in my mind why I don't like the Spider-Man character in the comics. Because he's annoying, and this character's annoying as well. Miles Morales is annoying.
I mean, yeah, that's fine. You can find Miles annoying all you want. Be my guest, I'm not gonna stop you.
If you want a film that's just lots of dramatic music when something fast is moving on the screen, you got your film. That's a lot of the film, just things moving fast with dramatic music. That's it.
I mean, if you ignore all the other stuff, yeah. There is also one part in this video which, just a reminder, was originally intended as a review. He just sort of complains that someone in the movie theatre was enjoying the movie a bit too much for his liking.
And had a stupid woman in front of me just laughing all the time at stupid shit that wasn't even fucking funny. And when there was like a cute moment, she was like, oh. I just wanted to say, shut the fuck up!
And I do get it, cinema goers can sometimes be really annoying. But like, dude, this doesn't come off well. It just seems like you didn't enjoy the film and you're salty that other people did. Regardless of whether or not that's actually the case, I mean, by your description, she could have been laughing at the serious emotional scenes. It just doesn't come across great. Which brings me to my conclusion. The fact that this seems to be the most popular negative review of Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse I could find is a huge compliment for that film. It's basically just a guy going, yeah, I found some of the characters annoying, and also it made my eyes hurt. I don't know if that applied to literally anyone else. I haven't checked. This is the review of Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse that's received the most attention, at least on YouTube so far. And it's made up of entirely subjective points. Points that he doesn't really elaborate on in any meaningful way. A lot of the time he just says how he felt without really giving any reasons why. And most of the time is spent focusing on an issue that doesn't seem to apply to many people at all. This is a great sign. If this is the bar for criticism of Spider-Verse, that suggests that Spider-Verse is great. Alright, I really hope you've enjoyed this. If you have, or if you haven't, some feedback in the comments would be really appreciated. I try to read all of my comments, and feedback is always useful. Other than that, there are some links on screen now to some more of my content. And this is probably one of the last times you're going to see this outro card, by the way, because I'm planning on very soon replacing it with something thanking my patrons. I'll see you on Wednesday. Goodbye.